While talking about how hard she had worked, she suddenly broke down in tears on live TV, saying, "I worked so hard and I can't hear any of the commencement speakers because of the chanting that is pro-Hamas." No one saw this coming. The Fox News host was in a very emotional situation that led to her sudden resignation. What caused her to lose it? What did it reveal about the pressures she was under? Watch as we reveal the untold story. What led to this unforgettable TV moment? Dana Marie Perino's rise from a cattle ranch in Wyoming to the world's most powerful podium at the White House. Her story is one of quiet determination and fierce perseverance with grace, grit, and unwavering focus. She became only the second woman and the first Republican woman to serve as White House press secretary. Born in Evanston, Wyoming, Perino grew up in the mile-high suburbs of Denver, Colorado. Her father, Leo Perino, started out as a janitor and worked his way up to become a salesman. Her mother, Janice, stayed home to raise Dana and her sister. Her maternal grandfather, a cattle rancher, was one of her earliest role models. His work ethic and wisdom left a lasting impression. Dana has talked about growing up in a family where values were more important than looks. "There wasn't any glitz or luxury, but there was a deep pride in hard work, and my dad made me read newspaper articles out loud every night, and then talk about them with him." Dana said in an interview, "That's how I learned to think critically and how to form and defend my opinions." Her family also insisted on good manners and public speaking, which she didn't fully understand at the time but now sees as important for her confidence. Her dad even made her recite speeches from President Reagan in front of the mirror. "It was like my unofficial job." She later joked that the Perino family had nothing to do with politics, but Dana was already interested in public affairs at a young age. "I remember watching the news with my parents every night," she said in an interview. "I was always curious about how decisions were made and who made them." Her interest in politics wasn't just intellectual. She found inspiration in strong public figures like Margaret Thatcher and Barbara Bush, women who were both authoritative and warm. Dana remembers watching press briefings and speeches. Although Dana knew in high school that she wanted to work in either the media or the government, or some combination of the two, her path was still unclear. She did well in debate, communications, and Spanish, and she loved public speaking. Dana went to Colorado State University PBLO and majored in mass communications while minoring in both political science and Spanish. While she was there, she worked as a DJ at a country music station from 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. every day. She said that working the weekend shift was one of the most character-forming jobs she had ever had. "I was learning how to connect with people even when I was half asleep." She said, "I was learning the importance of consistency and preparation even when no one was watching." One of her big breaks came when she got a job on Capital Journal, a political roundup show on PBS. It was small-time junior bear cub reporting, but it gave her a taste of Washington, D.C., sharpened her ability to think on her feet after graduation. Dana got a master's degree in public affairs reporting from the University of Illinois at Springfield, and worked as a daily reporter for WCIA covering Illinois politics. In the late 1990s, Dana moved to Washington, D.C., and started working as a staff assistant for Congressman Scott McInnis. Later, she became press secretary for Congressman Dan Schaefer, a job that taught her how to craft messages and talk to people when she was under a lot of stress. After working for a well-known public relations firm outside of politics for a while, she returned to politics by joining President George W. Bush's White House Council on Environmental Quality. Her calm demeanor, sharp instincts, and constant preparation quickly made her stand out. "When you work in the White House, it's not about you, it's about serving something greater," Dana said in a speech at George Washington University. "I learned to speak for the presidency, not myself. That's a big responsibility." Dana Perino became White House press secretary when she was 35 years old. She was only the second woman and the first Republican woman to hold the position. But Perino's journey wasn't just about her own success. Along the way, she stayed committed to helping others rise. In 2009, she co-founded Minute Mentoring, a program to give young women quick, useful career advice. Even though she had to juggle on-air duties and book deadlines, she found time for mentoring and public speaking, often talking about her own career. Dana Perino is one of those rare people who never stop changing. But what hidden talent did she find on her journey of self-discovery, and how did she turn it into another success? Let's find out by discovering her hidden talent for writing. Unlike many politicians who just put their names on ghost-written works, Perino's writing comes from a place of honesty, personal reflection, and a genuine desire to share her story. Writing wasn't just a hobby for her, it became a new way to connect with people, inspire them, and express herself. Dana's love for writing didn't just appear out of nowhere. It had been simmering away in the background through her speeches, briefings, and journal entries. But it really took off when she left the White House and became a journalist. As she got used to her job at Fox News, she realized she had more stories and lessons to share that couldn't fit into a TV segment. She had the time and freedom to think more deeply about her ideas. Her first book, And the Good News is Lessons and Advice from the Bright Side, which came out in 2015 and was a big hit, was a mix of memoir and self-help. It told the story of her rise from a small-town girl in Wyoming and Colorado to the White House podium. It was full of honest reflections, valuable life lessons, and heartfelt advice for young professionals, especially women who are trying to find their way. The tone is casual and grounded, a lot like her personality. In interviews, Dana talked about how emotional the writing process was. "I wrote the whole thing by hand," she told the Washington Post, explaining how she would write chapters by hand before typing them up. "There were times I cried while writing some of the memories," she admitted, adding that it felt freeing. The book also showed parts of her personality that the public hadn't seen: her insecurities, her faith, her doubts, and her constant optimism. The success of her first book wasn't just due to the overwhelming positive response made her want to learn more about telling stories. So in 2016 she published Let Me Tell You About Jasper, How My Best Friend Became America's Dog. This book was very different from the others because it was about her beloved Visa Jasper. What began as a passion project about her dog turned into a touching book about friendship, love, and finding joy in the little things. Through her books, Dana created a unique voice that was honest but kind. She is a talented writer because she can combine insight with empathy, so that readers not only learn about her life, but also feel better about their own. In interviews, she often said that she wanted to help people see the bright side of things, even when things were hard, and her writing truly reflects that goal. Her third book, Everything Will Be Okay, Life Lessons for Young Women from a Former Young Woman, came out in 2021 and quickly became a bestseller, especially with younger readers. Dana was both a mentor and a motivator for me as I navigated the complexities of career and adulthood. "I wrote this book as if I were speaking directly to the 25-year-old version of myself," she said on Fox and Friends. The book deals with everything from career struggles to self-doubt and even relationships with grace and grounded wisdom. What makes Dana a unique writer is her goal. She's not writing to elevate herself, she's writing to uplift others. She has been through high-pressure political jobs, public scrutiny, and personal problems, so her advice feels more like a gentle nudge from a trusted friend than a lecture. Behind the scenes, Dana often talks about how her husband Peter McMahon was her biggest supporter while she was writing. He'd read drafts, offer encouragement, and remind her why her voice mattered. Their quiet life together, with Jasper curled up nearby, gave Dana the emotional space and inspiration she needed. Dana Perino's journey into writing wasn't just about books, it was also about discovering a new side of herself. By doing this, she created a space where politics, personal growth, and compassion meet. When she was in front of reporters from around the world, she was often questioned not only about policy but also about her qualifications, but she never flinched. Her poise, clarity, and unflappable demeanor became trademarks of her briefings. Everything Dana said in a Fox News interview I always studied hard and tried to stay calm under pressure. She did that job until the end of the Bush administration in 2009 and was praised across the country for her professionalism and poise. Looking back, Dana says her time at the White House was both humbling and exhilarating. "You never forget the weight of those walls," she told the Hudson Union Society. "Every decision, every word, it mattered, and being entrusted to communicate that was her advice to young people who want to work in public service is very inspiring. Take every chance, work hard, be kind, and never think you're too small to make a difference. She proved herself to be a poised and powerful press secretary, but then she made a big career move that no one saw coming. She left the spotlight of Washington for a whole new stage in her career. Movement when Dana Perino left the White House stage after being the 26th press secretary for the White House. Many people thought that her political career had reached its peak when she became First Lady of the United States. One of only 2 women to ever hold the prestigious position, and the first Republican woman to do so. But what she did next wasn't a quiet retreat from the public eye, it was a reinvention. Perino didn't just change lanes, she built a whole new highway. It all started with a brave decision that would take her from the intense world of political communications to the fast-paced world of broadcast journalism when the Bush administration ended. In interviews, she said she had a "now what" moment. She was still passionate about communication and public service, but she felt a shift coming. She said, "I didn't think I wanted to stay in Washington. I had given it my all, but I wasn't ready to stop working." Instead of staying in the traditional political circuit, Perino started looking for other opportunities that still fit her skills. As luck would have it, story analysis and getting to know people. A famous conservative media figure, Sean Hannity, a top host at Fox News, asked Dana to be a guest commentator on his show. What began as a one-time appearance quickly turned into regular segments. Hannity saw something different in Perino: her ability to explain complicated political issues in simple terms, her calm demeanor, and her honesty on camera. He didn't just keep inviting her back, he started telling Fox producers to hire her. He told her that he thought she was unique, and that she should join the team. Later, in an interview, Perino said that internal support led to more guest spots and eventually the chance to guest host Fox and Friends, one of the network's most popular shows. It wasn't long before Dana Perino's career took off again, this time in the media instead of politics. In 2011, after Glenn Beck left Fox News, they started a new show called The Five, a round-table-style discussion show. Dana was chosen to be one of the co-hosts of the 5 p.m. show. The format was different from anything she'd done before. She wasn't briefing reporters or representing the administration. She was sharing her own thoughts in a way that wasn't planned or practiced. For the first time, she wasn't speaking on behalf of someone else. She once said, "I had to find my voice." It was terrifying and freeing. People quickly connected with Perino's unique mix of intelligence, warmth, and candor, whether she was talking about politics, policy, or her dog Jasper, who became the subject of her second book. She gave viewers a different kind of perspective, one that was based on experience, but delivered with humility. Perino's transition wasn't just smooth, it was wildly successful. She went on to co-anchor America's Newsroom and appear regularly on other Fox News shows, solidifying her place on the network. She helped start a new style of conservative commentary that was less combative and more conversational. She says that taking risks and being open to change are big parts of her media success. "You have to be willing to reinvent yourself," she told young professionals at a mentoring event. "You can't be afraid to take a different path, especially if your heart tells you it's the right one." And Perino didn't just adapt, she thrived. Viewers respected her insight, admired her professionalism, and saw her as a trusted voice in American media. Whether she's talking about lessons she learned from the West Wing or Jasper's antics, Dana's writing hits home because it's based on real events. While she was busy building her career and discovering hidden talents, she never lost sight of her personal life. Her love story is as unique as her personality, and trust me, you'll love it. Wouldn't believe Dana Perino's love story. It was 1997, and Perino was tired of Washington, D.C. She had taken a short break because she thought the political climate there was pretty gross. She was flying from Denver to Chicago when fate stepped in. As she settled into her seat, she looked over and saw Peter McMahon, a man without a wedding ring,
who had a charming British accent and a kind smile. Perino later told Yahoo Life that McMahon had noticed her even before she met him. "I was walking down the jetway behind this cute little blonde with her ponytail swinging, and I thought, I hope I sit next to her," he recalled. This was before dating apps and social media connections, so it was pure luck that they ended up sitting next to each other. They hit it off right away, and 2 hours into the flight, they were sharing their life stories, dreams, and a spark that neither of them could ignore. "We were sitting next to each other by chance, and 2 hours later we were in love," Dana said in an interview with Forbes. It was love at first flight, which is something she wrote about in her book, Let Me Tell You About Jasper. But falling in love with someone from another country has its problems. Peter McMahon was 18 years older than Dana, had been married twice, and had 2 kids from a previous relationship. On paper it might have seemed risky, but for Dana the heart doesn't follow logic, it follows feeling, and this feeling was right. She made the brave choice to pursue the relationship across the ocean. She flew to England to. In interviews, Dana often jokes about how her friends were skeptical and asked her if she was sure he wasn't an axe murderer, but she went with her gut. That leap of faith paid off. Not only did she fall more in love with Peter, but she also got to experience the beauty of starting a life together, outside of her comfortable American bubble. Their bond grew stronger as they learned about other cultures and built a foundation of mutual respect. They got married in 1998, just a year after she fell in love. Dana met Peter a year after they started dating, and even though he didn't stand in front of the cameras, he kept things together behind the scenes. This was especially true when Dana's career took off, and she became press secretary for President George W. Bush. Peter never saw Dana's ambition as a threat. In fact, he encouraged it. While she worked long hours and often under a lot of public pressure, he took care of their home life and cheered her on from the sidelines. Dana once told the Hudson Peter always believed in Dana's dreams and even suggested that they move across the country or the world to help her career. He believed in her more than anyone else, and in a world where many ambitious women struggled to balance career and marriage, Dana found a partner who made it possible for her to have both. Even though they don't have children together, Dana has always loved and cared for Peter's children from his previous marriage, making a close-knit family. The couple shares their home with their beloved dogs, Jasper, and later Percy. Dana often wrote about Jasper and Percy as if they were co-workers. Their relationship isn't just sweet, it's also inspiring. In a world full of scandal and drama in politics, Dana and Peter have managed to keep their love story quiet, simple and steady. She often posts sweet photos and bits of their life on social media, always with humor and humility. You might think that Dana Perino's life has been great, but in addition to her successes, Dana Perino has had some problems and been involved in a lot of controversies. One of the most famous events during her time as White House press secretary was when an Iraqi journalist threw his shoes at President George W. Bush during a press conference in Baghdad in 2008. It was a huge scandal that shocked the whole world, and Perino was right there in the middle of it all. As the Secret Service rushed to protect the president, the boom mic hit her. In an NPR interview, she talked about what happened, saying, "I had just said to my colleague, look at all these Iraqi reporters. This is amazing. They never thought when they were little kids that they would grow up to be journalists and have the chance to ask their leader a question, let alone the leader of the free world." But things quickly went bad, she said. Suddenly a shoe flew through the air and then another one. Despite the chaos, Perino stayed professional, saying, "The incident was surreal, but it showed the dangers and reality of the work we were doing." Even though the microphone hit her in the eye, Perino stayed calm and focused on the president's safety, saying, "It was a very intense moment, and even though I was injured, my first concern was for the safety of the president and those around me." The shocking event became a turning point in Perino's career. As White House press secretary, she often had to defend the Bush administration against harsh criticism, especially over the Iraq War and how it handled Hurricane Katrina. As public disillusionment with the administration grew, so did scrutiny of Perino's role in communicating the administration's policies. She found herself in many tough situations, but never gave up on her duties, as she said in a 2013 interview. "You have to have thick skin in that job." Dana told Cosmopolitan about how she dealt with the constant criticism. "There were times when I knew people were angry at me and angry at the administration, but my job was to answer their questions as honestly as I could, even when the answers were uncomfortable." She went on to say, "There's always a human element in politics. I was constantly reminded that the media didn't just have an issue with me, they had an issue with the people I was representing." Even though she was criticized, Perino stayed strong. She saw her job not as defending the administration, but as representing the people's questions and concerns. "I was always trying to balance the truth, even when it wasn't the easiest thing to do," she said. Her ability to stay calm under pressure earned her respect in some circles, even if it wasn't universally liked. When she moved from the White House to Fox News, Perino faced new challenges, especially when she started commenting on political issues. As an opinion host on Perino was often asked to comment on controversial topics on Fox's popular show The Five. One such comment she made about the #MeToo movement caused a stir. She was criticized for not fully understanding the movement's importance, and for downplaying the role of systemic inequality in the workplace. When talking about the allegations against high-profile men, she said, "It's a tough situation, but I do think that women in the workplace also have a many people thought her words were hurtful and didn't show empathy." In a later interview, Perino talked about the backlash, saying, "I completely understand why my comment upset people, and I was wrong in the way I framed the issue. What I meant to say was that women should feel empowered to stand up for themselves, but I didn't say that in a way that was helpful." She also talked about how important the #MeToo movement was, saying, "We need to have." Even though Dana Perino has been criticized and involved in controversies, something big happened live on TV that made her cry. Here's what happened that made even the most experienced professional break down. Dana Perino cries on live TV. The embarrassing event in front of millions of viewers gave the seasoned TV personality a rare chance to show her weak side. In this case, Dana accidentally shared private information on air, which caused a media frenzy and a backlash from critics who called her unprofessional. The mistake, while not very big, started a bigger debate. Dana was talking about a topic with some Fox News personalities when she accidentally shared details that weren't meant for them. Even though the information wasn't earth-shattering, it wasn't supposed to be shared live on a major news network where the stakes are very high. This unintentional mistake quickly made headlines, and the intense scrutiny that always surrounds high-profile figures in the media made the controversy around her mistake even worse. Within moments, critics were calling her unprofessional, and some started to question whether she was really qualified for the job. In a rare admission of her own fault, Dana, who is known for being calm and collected, handled the situation with remarkable grace and humility. "I made a mistake, and I'm the first to admit it," she said in response to the incident. "That's part of the job. Things don't always go perfectly on live television. I have to be careful what I say, especially on a platform like this, and I'll make sure to learn from this," she said. The mistake might have been seen as unprofessional by some, but Dana's response showed that she was willing to admit it and take responsibility for it. It was an honest moment that showed how dedicated she was to her job, even when things got tough. But the drama didn't end there. What happened next was a wave of even more damaging rumors and speculations about Dana's rise to. People quickly started saying in traditional and online media that Dana's career success was due to her good looks or her connections in high political circles. Some said that her appointment to high-profile jobs, like White House press secretary under President George W. Bush, was based more on her looks than her qualifications, while others said that her job at Fox News wasn't based on merit, but on political favoritism. She was also accused of being a sexual harasser, a result of political favoritism or favoritism based on her looks were especially hard for Dana to deal with. As someone who had worked hard to prove her worth in a world dominated by men, the idea that her success was due to superficial factors felt like a slap in the face. During an interview, Dana opened up about how these rumors had hurt her emotionally. Her voice cracked as she talked about how hurt she was by the accusations. "If people really think Despite her tears, she said, "I'll step down because I can't compromise my integrity. I'm here because of my work, my knowledge, and my commitment. If that's not enough for people, then maybe I don't belong here." Dana's words were both a defense of her professional path and a statement of her personal values. She made it clear that she would not stay in a position that would require her to compromise her own principles or honor. The idea that she would step down if her worth wasn't recognized. In a way that was true to her values, she was recognized for her strength of character and resilience, which had carried her through much of her career. The emotions that Dana showed during this time struck a chord with many viewers, who saw in her an example of vulnerability and honesty that is rarely seen in the tough worlds of politics and the media. Her willingness to admit mistakes, take responsibility, and show her human side helped win over many of her fans.